Morning, Calvary Chapel. Good to be here. Well, our exhortation person that was supposed to be here this week is not here, so I'm jumping in here with a quick Israel update just for a few minutes before Pastor Jerry comes on up and goes into the book of Matthew. Israel, wow, lots happening on the prophetic time clock, isn't there? A little over a week ago, Iran attacked them. Israel knew about it. The intel, we don't know how much detail was there, but they knew it was coming. What happened? Well, approximately 330 plus projectiles, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and drones were launched against Israel simultaneously. Actually, they were timed out so that they would all come close to hitting Israel at the same time. Remember, Tehran is approximately 800 miles from Israel. Iran is huge, so it varies from where you are talking about. But 170 drones were launched. Those are pretty slow. They take about 4 to 9 hours to get there. Some of them are bigger than a lawnmower, but that doesn't mean they can't do some serious damage. About 30 cruise missiles were launched. Those things are a little lower and a little bit slower. The flight time, the flight profile is anyways, they take about 2 hours to get there. 130 approximately ballistic missiles were fired. These ones are big, and these ones actually go up into space, and they only take about 12 minutes to arrive in Israel. The ballistic missile, the Sejil missile, it's a solid fuel, medium-range ballistic missile, surface-to-surface type, launched from the surface to impact the surface is what that means. Has a range of about 1,500 miles. So we're not dealing with a small attack of any kind. We're dealing with an attack that meant to do some major damage to Israel. Simultaneously, 4 other countries were attacking Israel: Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, and Yemen. So Israel was expecting it because of their intel. What did they do? They launched planes that flew deep into Middle Eastern territories and began hunting down these cruise missiles and the drones one by one. Israel launched F-15s, F-16s, and F-35s, if you know what those are. F-35s are pretty new, highly advanced fighter. The B model, I think, is capable of vertical takeoff and landing from carriers. Quite an aircraft, very stealth. Fighter jets were also launched by the United States, the United Kingdom, France, and Jordan. Wow. They had a 99% success rate, neutralizing over 330 projectiles. Success because of what they had was a multi-layered defense system, which also included the Arrow 2 and Arrow 3 interceptor system, the David Sling, and then probably everybody knows the Iron Dome is very popular as well. So 99% success rate. What is Israel's response going to be? Already made the first one. Or did they? It's very cryptic. We know they did. They haven't said they did because they don't do things like that. They know they have a long game that they have to play to remain alive in that small little country the size of New Jersey in the midst of 22 Arab nations around them. But they did send a cryptic message saying that we can beat your radars, we can hit your nuclear development plants if we want to. Biblically, we can see that this scenario can easily lead to Ezekiel 38, if you're familiar with that, the Gog of Magog in Persia and that war. We can see that this can easily lead to that. And I wonder too, is this the hook that brings Russia into the battle with Israel, responding to the defense of Iran, who is their close ally now and partner in their evil intentions? We've speculated in the past about that hook being probably the natural resources that Israel has, whether it's all the oil reserves or the natural gas reserves, things of that sort. That's described in Ezekiel 38:4, that God says, I will put hooks in you and bring you down. Is this the one? I don't know. We'll see. But since this is the very first time that Iran has attacked Israel from its own country, will this open up the opportunity now for Israel to bring about regime change? Regime change. Not against the elected leaders, because the Iranian people, so many, just millions and millions are innocent. There's quite a vast Christian population in Iran. But against the Ayatollahs. Is this the thing that brings about their response to bring about regime change? We don't know. Will this be the catalyst that removes the Ayatollahs? Israel cannot sustain combating against those kinds of attacks. They spend about $1.3 billion to defend that one attack. Iran and its proxies, they possess hundreds of thousands of projectiles. How will Israel proceed in the coming weeks and months dealing with the remainder of what's left in Gaza, the whole southern portion with at least 4 battalions of Hamas that are still operational and have not been rooted out? How do they deal with Hezbollah in both Lebanon and Syria to the north? And how do they deal with Iran and its quest for nuclear proliferation? I did want to read real quick, I got this from Amir Sarfati's channel on Telegram, this testimony, and I'll just read it to you. It says, an Israeli scientist who works for the security system and is a doctor of physics wrote the following words to his rabbi yesterday, which would have been Monday the 15th. I wanted to share with the rabbi something that is much more than a feeling, that on Shabbat night, something happened here on the scale of splitting the Red Sea. I am a doctor of physics, and I worked for several years in the defense industry in Israel, in projects that are still the cutting edge of the state of Israel. When I look at what happened on Saturday night on a scientific level, it simply cannot happen. Everyone, and I mean everyone, acted as one man in overall unity. He continued, the likelihood that everything works out just as it should does not exist in complex systems like the defense systems that we are operating. They have never, and I mean never, even beyond the state of Israel, been tried in real time. I took a pencil and dove into the calculations to check the likelihood that such a result would materialize. The large number of events that had to be handled at precisely the right time doubles the chance of making a mistake. With all the high technologies, the expectation was for a breach in the defense of the skies of the state of Israel. Even if we got 90% protection, it would be a miracle. What happened, though, is that everyone, and I mean everyone, the pilots, the system operators, and the technology operators, acted as one man at one moment in total unity. If this is not an act of God, then I no longer know what a miracle is. The doctor marvels and he adds, this is sharper than the victory of the Six-Day War or the War of Independence. There it can be explained according to nature. I think not, I disagree, but anyways. The rescue that took place for the people of Israel on Shabbat night is simply impossible naturally. I believe that this miracle saved the lives of many people from Israel. If the defense system had failed to intercept a number of cruise missiles, the result would have dragged us into a very complex campaign. I wouldn't bet that the next time it will work out like this without divine supervision. The simple proof of what I said is that managers of the security industries who develop and manufacture these systems guarantee no more than 90% success. And what do they have? 99%. And then he finishes with, since the day you came out of the land of Egypt, we have shown you wonderful things. Happy holidays. Interesting perspective. God has shown himself mighty to even unbelievers, scientists. And know this too, that God truly is protecting his people Israel, as the regathering of the Jewish people is not complete yet. We're still in that phase. From the 1948 forming of the country plus the Six-Day War in 1967, the Yom Kippur War in 1973, and many other conflicts since then, he will take care of them. As Psalm 121 states, he who keeps Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. And as Pastor Jerry mentioned a little bit ago, Passover begins tomorrow. So do pray for Israel. Like the Hebrew words, Sha'alu Shalom Yerushalayim. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem, which I believe is really an idiom for pray for the Prince of Peace to come back to Jerusalem. For as Zechariah prophesies in chapter 13, and during the tribulation, 2/3 of Israel will be wiped out. That's what's coming. 1/3 will be refined as silver and tested as gold, the scriptures say. As for us, I remember what Jesus said in Luke 21:28. Now when you see these things begin to happen, look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draws nigh. God bless you.